Essa música.
Hi everyone, welcome back to yet another exciting episode of the Do We Have Your Attention podcast. My name is Aisha P, and with me as always is the lovely, wonderful, intelligent, beautiful
Paula B. Martins.
Okay, period. Yeah, I love to throw you. You look gorgeous. You look good.
Thank you. It's my new laptop.
No, shut up. Laptop aside, you look good.
Thank you. No, the laptop is just accentuating the beauty that is already there. We'll put it that way.
Period. Yes. Okay, so today, we already gave them a tease of
we did.
The first episode, which is talking about Love Island Season 8. If you did not watch Love Island Season 8, you're missing. Go watch it because not only is it entertaining, but you learn so much more. So much. And it's not only about, I know it's a romantic relationships kind of TV show, but you learn so much about individuals, how people show up in friendships and so much more. So what do you think the people should expect from today's episode?
And this, to be fair, this is I guess you could say our recap episode since it's done. There's a reunion, but it doesn't really matter. Since it's done, it's our recap episode. I think for this episode, I was listening to the previous one and then I thought to myself, I was like, that was at the beginning. I'm sure we have so many different thoughts.
Oh, girl. So much has happened since that first
I was laughing at some of the things that we were saying and I was like, this is going to be very different.
Yeah, so much happened, man. There's just so much to talk about. If only we could make this a yearly series. Dissecting Love Island.
But honestly, I know we had this conversation. Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed this season compared to the previous one. I really did. I think the casting was great. I will still stand by that. That casting was great. They casted just real people who really mirrored a lot of what we deal with on a normal day-to-day life, which unfortunately was what I think probably got the fans really not being able to make that difference between what is parasocial and like being able to watch a TV show, enjoy it, but recognize that these are human beings.
Right.
Putting that aside, I love that you also shared that you loved this season as well, because I feel the exact same way.
Yeah, I genuinely enjoyed this season, especially because of what you said, and it just felt like refreshing. I feel like last season was so dark. Like there was just
it was dark.
I literally was like, why am I
didn't even finish it.
So oh, you did it?
I didn't. I couldn't finish it because that's how dark it was.
So dark, guys. When I say it was so dark, this one was so refreshing, and even the way that they handled conflict, the way that the people were communicating, like little things. It was very refreshing to see. So
okay. So before we get started, obviously for our fans and our listeners, please make sure to check in with yourself, reflect, check in with your own community, and as we're doing that, checking in with you as well, Aisha. How are you feeling as we step into this? Since I answered that same question.
Oh, girl, I'm feeling excited. I'm excited for this conversation. I genuinely, this is our thing. We talk reality TV show.
Yes.
So for us to do it on a podcast, it's like
there's one thing we have in common.
Right? If you could pay me to do this, I'll do this all day. So I'm excited for this. It's a little bit gloomy, so I feel like I have to, because it's like raining and thunderstorming, so I feel like I have to really channel the opposite of what outside is giving right now.
Yeah. I'm happy about the rain because I've been dealing with some major allergies and headaches from the smoke. So I'm like, please wash it away.
Wash away.
Wash away our sins, the sins of the world.
Orange and dark clouds. Like, hello.
Okay.
Anyway, are we ready to dive into it?
I am. I'm very much so ready.
Okay, period. So let's start with, there's like a theme of the show, and if you watch Love Island, you hear this a lot, where people keep saying like, they're not choosing me, I'm choosing you. They're not choosing me, I'm choosing you. Like, it seems like there's a big theme of feeling chosen. And it's not just on Love Island. I feel like in relationships, period, there's that thing that comes with people wanting to feel chosen. So why do you think so many people prioritize being picked over asking whether the other person is actually a good fit for them? And how do they show up in real life dating?
So before I even answer the question, as I was hearing you say that, I don't know if you know, did you watch Grey's Anatomy?
I did. Pick me,
choose me, love me.
God forbid bad thing. Hey.
But you know what though? Like that is, and it's funny how that is people's favorite line from that whole, that's one of their favorite lines, which just tells you a lot that it is such a common feeling and a strong desire for us to feel as though, for us to want to be picked, like this notion of being picked, this notion of being chosen. There's something about that for, I guess, the human being that seems to place more value on you being the one that's actually choosing, or you sort of being able to discern whether someone is a good fit or a right fit for you, which makes sense. And I do think that there are aspects of that puts responsibility on the other person and puts less responsibility on oneself. I do also think that there is a deep fear of loneliness. There's two aspects of this where there's a fear of loneliness, fear of rejection, fear of something that oftentimes when we are being chosen, or the idea of being picked or being chosen is something that easily feeds that egoistic part of ourselves, which we all have those parts, whether it's from a place of competition, whether it's from a place of fear of rejection, whether it's from a place of constant need for validation and whatnot. And unfortunately, let's be real, dating in general is tricky, but then modern dating is even worse, at least speaking as people who are in this generation. It's even, at least from my perspective, it's worse. There's a lot of scarcity mindset that people feel like they need to adopt into dating. So if someone believes good partners are rare, and to be fair, sometimes I do feel like that, just based off the conversations I have with clients and things like that. There's always there's a significant increase in the people who are experiencing very, very scary, unhealthy situations in dating than the people who are having positive experiences. It's easy to desire to cling to someone who shows interest in you, rather than having to come from a place of autonomy and actually assess whether that person is right for you. Because in having to exercise autonomy over your own choosing and your decision, you're going to have to exercise boundaries. You're going to have to exercise discernment. You're going to have to exercise so much that most likely a lot of people will fall off once you are operating from that place of self. And most of us are afraid to do that. And I think the idea of it is so great. It's like, choose me, pick me, love me, and whatnot. I remember telling a client of mine who we had the same conversation, who had talked about a desire to be chosen. And I said, I hear you, but in knowing you for as long as I've known you and worked with you, I don't know if you are the person who desires to be chosen, because being someone who desires to be chosen also means that you are forgoing your ability to exercise autonomy and agency. And you don't ever describe yourself or present as someone who is readily willing to let go and forgo their sense of agency and autonomy just so they could be chosen. You present as someone who wants to find the right person and the most aligned person for them. So I do think there's something that's definitely rooted in history, how women were raised, how women are conditioned, for sure. What do you think?
I 100% agree with what you're saying. And I love that you're putting language to it, in sense of our sense of agency and autonomy is taken away from us when we feel like other people have to choose us. And at that point, you're not even trusting your instincts anymore, because you're too focused on being chosen, so I have to present. That's when all the performance comes, right? Like I have to present as a certain way, and in order to be chosen, to say. And I like saying that this is the way that a lot of women were conditioned. Sadly, a lot of us with the mindset that love is something that we have to earn, or if you present with certain characteristics, then the man will pick you. It's like kind of survival test. And unfortunately, I think passing that message down to young girls, it kind of makes them feel like their worth is tied to being chosen, and that they have to present in a certain type of way, which is why you hear like Anaya on the show saying, I did all these things, I picked you every time, over and over again, and you still did not pick me, because it was never about you picking him all the time. Right? It was literally never about that. It was about him picking what was best for him,
or him, and who was more aligned.
Right, looking into the person that fits best for him in a relationship.
Yes.
Whilst he was doing that, she was busy focusing on, I'm doing these things to show you that I'm the best fit, but not necessarily being herself in a way that he gets to actually see if she's the best fit for him.
So true. And I love that her mom also said, I watched you and I saw that Carl was in your heart. So she said something like that.
Yeah.
It was evident that was who you were more aligned with. Right. That was who was in your heart, but you more so made a decision based off of this frame of mind versus, let's say, someone that's aligned with you. And if they were focusing, let's say, less on the notion of the picking or the choosing, they most likely both would have come back with two different people,
right?
And being able to have a civilized conversation that did not need all the contention that happened as a result of a decision that obviously I know she initially regretted after she realized that was not the right decision that she made. So true. But speaking of which, then, can we talk about the moments? Shout out to Mela. And I realized I kept calling Melanie Mel.
Mela.
And then I watched calling Melanie Mel during the earlier episodes. And as time went on, there was a scene with she and Corbin where she told Corbin that she hates when people call her Mel. And please, if you're going to shorten her name, you should call her Mela. And I was just laughing so much when I heard that. So I was like, okay, I need to correct that, Mela or Melanie. Mm-hmm. But when they were doing the movie night and she said, being chosen or picked is not the prize, and it's the respect. And I love that she had that moment to express herself, because I really, truly feel as though what we're basically talking about is exactly what she was saying, how we place value on the wrong thing. It's like, okay, I would disrespect you. I would tell every other girl what they want to hear. I would tell them that if there was more time, you would have been my number one. I would kiss them. I would do this. I would do all of these things with them. But at the end of the day, I will pick you and I will choose you.
God forbid.
God forbid.
Like, hello, the disrespect. I love that you're bringing this up, because yes, Melanie, shout out to you for putting that out on TV so that a lot of girls can
absolutely
and see that being chosen is not it.
It's not the flex.
It's really not it. Being respected, because nobody told Sincere he couldn't explore. No one said that, but you were not exploring with respect. You were not exploring with the mindset of giving the person that you're coupled up with respect. And that's a problem. That was the problem. It was never about exploring or getting to know other people. This is a dating show. Of course, you are going to explore and get to know people. But exploring and disrespecting your partner and then lying on top of it and then coming back and saying, but I chose you. I don't want to be chosen then. Don't choose me.
It's like, please, don't choose me.
Pick somebody else.
Pick somebody else.
Respect is such an important foundation of any form of relationship. And I think that a lot of people think, because they come back and they say, well, at the end of the day, I'm choosing you and I'm buying you flowers and like I want to marry you, then you should be happy.
Yeah.
No, where is
I definitely dated someone like that. Even though it wasn't how do I put it? It wasn't outrightly said, but it was in little things that kind of made me, as I was taking it in. And I think one thing I appreciate is that as much as I am in a relationship, I am taking what I'm observing. I'm taking notes. I'm looking at my future and I'm like, does this make sense? Does this not make sense? And I remember just conversations around things like that where there was such an emphasis on what I would consider to be bare minimum behavior. And it's funny because I was having a conversation with a friend of mine where we're talking about something similar to where she was sharing just about this idea, this notion of someone saying like, but I listen to you, but I'm a nice guy, but like I care about people, but I don't mean to this. And I think to a large degree, a lot of people, there's something I want to even say, and I really appreciated that Mela did that because like you said, it really helps a lot of women really evaluate, and girls, young girls too, evaluate this notion. Sometimes actually the notion of being chosen it's really, how do I say it? It's actually the opposite of what we think it is. Being chosen by Sincere, for example, God forgive me, but it's not a flex.
It's not.
Or let's put it this way, being chosen by someone with consistent lying behaviors, manipulative behaviors, someone without a true sense of self, someone who struggles with honesty, someone who's easy to say words so frivolously without meaning behind them. When you break it down, let's even take the name out and the person, just the behavior itself. Being chosen by someone with set behaviors, being chosen by someone without boundaries, without healthy boundaries, without any form of self-respect or self-regard for you or concern for you. When you look at it from that perspective, it's like, ooh, me choosing that is me saying that is okay. Right. Or me allowing you to, me being chosen by you and having excitement, so to speak, about it is like me saying that this is very much so okay and this is acceptable and I'm enabling that. So to a degree, when you really think about it, we have to be very mindful.
We have to be. And it's like, and a lot of people, it really saddens me when a lot of women are like, and we went through all this, what you're saying, like the man engaging in all of these disrespectful, very like thoughtless behaviors, lack of consideration behaviors. And he chose me. And I'm just sitting there like, wow, this saddens me that it's normalized now for there to be so many struggles and for people to treat you anyhow and then come back and then we're like, I'm the prize. That's not how you become the prize, girl. That's not how you become the prize.
I can't stand this notion of prize or no prize.
Yeah, girl,
I'm going to be honest with you. I cannot. I have this conversation a lot with friends of mine where we're like, where is all this prize and prizing coming from?
Listen, let's not, that's not how you become the prize. Because people, and again, it's just like what I was saying earlier, of like that being tied to our worth of, we think being, I don't know. It's like, it makes, I know because I've been there before. I'm not going to lie. I've been there where I'm like, oh my God, and then they chose me. Period. Like thinking about it, it's like, that's coming from a place of low self-worth, low self-esteem, coming from a place where you are basically letting people treat you or your partner treat you how you're okay with treating yourself. And that's a problem. Yeah. Because, why would you let anybody treat you that way if you know that you would not tolerate this behavior, period, right?
That is real.
Kind of flag it out if you know your worth, if you know who you are, and you're like, absolutely. And that's where the discernment comes in, where it's like, I know who I am. I know who the hell I am. So it's not going to work for me. But if you're in that chosen mindset, it's so easy to minimize those things because you're being focused on.
Very true.
The picking is like tied to my worth, not like my worth is tied to who I am and how I present and how I take care of myself and all of those things. So
and you know how it probably even shows up in real life dating is sometimes we look at it from the opposite, meaning and it's not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's more of we're choosing each other.
Right.
We're choosing a relationship with each other. Right. We're choosing to commit to each other. We're choosing to work together to cultivate the kind of relationship we want with each other. Not that I'm picking you and you're picking me, or I'm being chosen, or I'm the one who has to do the choosing and you have no agency here. It's like we're both exercising these rights to say that we're taking the step forward together to enter a relationship and choose each other each day. So it's even less about that, because I think about the opposite, right? Where someone might say, okay, so if I should not be thinking about, because let's be real, from what I've seen through the way people online and media watch a lot of these shows, they watch it from a very black and white, rigid thinking perspective. It's never really nuanced. There's no mental flexibility. There's no critical thinking. And it does really reflect a lot of what we struggle with as human beings on a day-to-day basis, where we're so desiring for whatever it is that we're dealing with internally to be validated, to be filled. We want to see things that reflect a lot of what we hold on internally, that it makes it hard for us to be able to take ourselves out of it and actually just watch things from that place of just new interpretation. But so I think about someone who might hear that and then go, okay, so if I'm not the person who should be fixating on choosing, or sorry, being chosen, then I need to fixate on choosing. And then you see a lot of people who are quick to cut people off, people who are quick to look for red flags and see anything that looks like indication of red flag, and then be very quick to sort of make decisions that are still from a place of scarcity, but you think that you're exercising agency, autonomy, by doing the choosing, taking away, not to be fair, you cannot really take anybody else's agency, but not placing value on the other person, because like, no, I'm the one who's going to choose you. And I think to some degree, we see a little bit of that. I'm going to be honest with you. I really struggled with this because I know I am someone who has her own personal history of just seeing what is the reality of marginalization between women, or women in society, marginalization of women in society, and how there is an ingrained double standard when it comes to privilege and accessibility that the male demographics might have versus the women. And it's not necessarily about the men as much as it's the system that has created this issue in which we operate in. However, this season, I did see a little bit of now the opposite. So it's like these two extremes of there were certain things that the women were allowed to do, we're okay with doing, but the men were not necessarily allowed to do. We have a right to exercise our own agency and autonomy here, but you don't. We have a right to talk down on you and call you all sorts of names out of the beauty bear, this one, blah, 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 the B word and whatnot, so many things to degrade you, but you don't have a right to say anything disrespectful. And wrong is wrong on both ends, to be fair. It's not like saying one is right. I do think sometimes that opposite can also look like you have no say here. I'm the one who's doing the choosing. I'm the one who's saying how this goes. And if you can't comply with what I'm saying, then you're not the right person for me. But it's like, no, that's not what partnership is.
Right. We have
partnership is let's say it's choosing each other, so to speak.
Agreed. 100% agree with what you're saying. And so thinking about Love Island, bro. There's just so much to talk about.
Why are you laughing?
Because I'm just thinking about Sincere as a person. He has so much growing up to do, but that aside, there's something that he kept bringing up in the later episodes when he was caught red-handed. You know when you catch somebody like this?
Dun, 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 dun.
And you're trying to hold them accountable. And something that Sincere keeps saying to back up his behavior is that he's a people pleaser. So, your face is killing me. What is the thin line between people pleasing and manipulation? Because people pleasing is a thing and it can show up in your relationships. We know that, right? But in terms of how it shows up in like dating or how we showed up on the show, do you feel like people pleasing can become manipulative even when it's unintentional? Because I think Sincere genuinely thought that he was just people pleasing. Like he genuinely thought that I'm engaging in this behavior because I have to satisfy everyone's needs. What do you think?
My. had to take deep breaths because I know you know this because you saw that I actually made a video about this on social media.
Yes, you did.
Because I saw so many comments from people who oftentimes, as they were talking about his behaviors, they all just kept saying, this is people pleasing. And I also heard him keep referencing himself, people pleaser. And something just didn't sit right with me as I was listening to that. I'm like, I think there's a gap of like, how to say, I think there's a gap here, or there's a misunderstanding of what we think people pleasing is versus the reality of what people pleasing is. And unfortunately, it is easy to say that I'm a people pleaser versus I'm somebody who manipulates people.
Of course.
Let's be real.
Educate the people.
I don't think anyone who manipulates people will go, oh yeah, I'm a manipulator.
That's what I'm doing.
That's why
I'm out to manipulate you.
I don't think so. I think it's like, what's the word? It's digestible for people when what is truly manipulative behavior is sort of categorized as people pleasing. And when I sat down to really look at, let's say, sincere and also the definition of people pleasing and the characteristics, I now realize that, oh wow, that is very much so KC. That was the crazy part that happened for me, where especially KC in relation to Anaya and how everything blew out. The resentment, the holding in of emotions because you keep neglecting yourself. And as long as she's not okay, you feel as though it's your responsibility to always reassure her, to give her what she needs while putting your own needs to the side. Because if you know already that if I kept being honest, it will hurt her if I'm seeing how she's reacting already. And with people pleasing, you think about it, it doesn't benefit the people pleaser. The person that is people pleasing oftentimes is exhausted, oftentimes is depleted, oftentimes is angry. And I think we're talking about something recently where like, I'm replying to you, I'm not respecting my boundaries, but I'm replying, and then now I'm replying from a place of anger because I'm like, how can I even be there for you authentically? Because I know that instead of me waiting and actually recognizing this is not the right time to respond and respecting my boundaries, I'm actually more angry at myself for not respecting those boundaries. But then the anger comes out as something towards you. And that was such a step-by-step process. I saw that play out between Casey and Anaya, and I understood that for him, he saw it as this is emotional fragility on her part. If I say I care about this person, I can't keep seeing them have emotional reactions to me, let's say talking about exploring, and then I'm not caring about their feelings. And you hear him say things like, I need to place value on your feelings. I need to validate your feelings. I need to know you're my number one. It's important for me to tell you this. Right. And while I think that is good, the only thing that was truly missing was, I care about you and I don't want to see you upset, but it's also important to me to share with you that as much as this is something I am exploring, I would like the opportunity to also explore other things.
Other people, right.
And stand in that, right. Even though it hurts the other person because they're not responsible for their own feelings.
Response, right.
I think what happened was, and what he was, unfortunately, Casey does not articulate himself well. It's very clear.
No.
And I think, unfortunately, because he doesn't articulate himself well, a lot of what he says is easily misinterpreted and everyone can make a life of its own. When he talked about this idea of pouring life, it was really of like, I'm giving her reassurance, I'm prioritizing her feelings. This idea of I'm pouring into this person, but the only thing was but were you pouring into your own self?
Right.
And I loved that on After Sun, he was able to articulate himself a little bit better, where he said, my resentment wasn't towards her. It was towards myself for not respecting my own boundaries. And I really liked, I know people don't like this because everybody ran with their own narrative, but how I saw this was, the lashing out. As somebody who is a retired people pleaser, and I don't know if you can relate to this, where you get to that point of just keeping it in, keeping it in, prioritizing other people's feelings, and then you get to the extreme of like, I care about this, I don't care about them anymore. I don't care what happens to them. And you start looking like, she's happy, I don't care. I don't care. So a lot of what he was expressing about not caring about how much is because for him, he felt like the opposite of prioritizing this person's feelings over yours and then going to a place of selfishness. But both is not right. It's sort of finding that good balance. And we saw how it got to a place where he now became a version of himself that is not a good picture or a reflection of who he is or who he's trying to be at least, because you kept pushing your own, I guess you kept putting your own feelings. That's what people pleasing is really motivated by fear of disappointing the person, fear of rejection or conflict. And I noticed that whenever they would have conflict and he would maybe want to hold her hand, or let's walk up the stairs, I want to be affectionate, she would go cold on him. So naturally, when you start to see that thing, if you're someone who's a people pleaser, you start to mirror a little bit of how you feel that person might react to you, which even validates the people pleasing a lot more. Now, I'll tell you why I don't believe that Sincere's behaviors are people pleasing. People pleasing, like I said, it affects the people pleaser more than it affects everybody else. And the truth of the matter is, this was between Casey and Anaya. It wasn't about anybody else. It wasn't about all the other women. The person who was affected by this was Anaya and Casey as well, because he kind of he dug his own, what's that thing called, where you put yourself, you have to be honest and take accountability and say like, I put myself in that position. I didn't really stand on what I knew, even if it made you feel hurt. And now I'm the one who now has to make up and be accountable for how I've now disrespected you. But it also is something that the people pleaser has a lot of like heaviness and guilt about. You saw on his face when they finally had the real vulnerable conversation and he was able to put meaning behind his behaviors. He was like, and it reminded me of the times when I have created my own narratives and assumptions of things as a people pleaser, and I've carried like the heaviness of my own feelings to prioritize other people's feelings. And I finally get to a place where I'm like, you know what? No, let me be honest about how I'm feeling. Let me be honest about what I need, even if you might feel hurt by it. And the conversation goes well and the person is receptive and everything goes well. You're like, that was great. There's a relief. Sincere's actions exhausted everybody around him. It didn't exhaust Sincere. That was a big telltale sign. If you notice, everybody else was affected, not even just the women he was involved with,
but the men,
the islanders too as well. It didn't exhaust him. The people pleasing benefits nobody, but for some reason, Sincere's actions benefited him.
And he had no remorse.
Do you get where I'm going with this? It benefited him. Connection with Soul, connection with Amora, connection with Melanie, connection with all these beautiful women by telling them it's motivated by desire to control people's choices, feelings, and behaviors. And one thing I found very interesting as well was that with someone like him, and I say this obviously very carefully as well, because we're also we're just going for what we're seeing on TV. I don't think he truly understands what it is to be a people pleaser. No. I think that sometimes people pleasing and manipulative behavior can overlap.
They can
overlap in the sense where, yes, you are driven by the desire to not hurt people, but there's also a benefit for you here. You get to explore these women without consequence. You get to explore these women by playing a thin line of what is truth and not truth. And like he says, I don't lie, I just withhold. So what does that mean? What did he say? I can't remember what he said again. I don't lie, but I just withhold the truth or something along those lines.
I think
I definitely think that there is a difference, and that unfortunately, because it's easier to stomach this notion of people pleasing being easily digestible versus saying you're a manipulative person, there are a lot of manipulative people with manipulative behaviors who get away with things because it comes across like people pleasing. Yeah, that was a lot, but I knew you knew that was always coming.
No, you really ate that. Like, I feel like you definitely broke it down the way that it should have been broken down, like just differentiating the difference between people pleasing and manipulation, because I do feel like there's a lot of people that are manipulating people but thinking that they are people pleasing. And I like that you were very specific about, with people pleasing, nobody wins. Everyone's hurt. Everyone's unhappy. But with manipulation, you doing the manipulation are getting something out of it. You're switching that perception to get a specific reaction for people and then in the end, you are the one gaining from it. The other person is hurt, but you're gaining something from it. And I feel like that's exactly what Sincere was saying by lying. He wasn't being honest. At least I feel like Casey, it's not like he was lying. He genuinely thought that he was doing what he should be doing. And that's I think that another big difference between the both is like the intention underlying it, right? Like for people pleasing, genuinely, you feel like you're doing it because you have to do it. If not, you're going to disappoint the other person or hurt the other person. But with manipulation, you are genuinely changing it. You know that you're changing the information or changing the perception in a way that is presenting for you to look like this good person that is just trying your best, but deep down you know that you're not being 100% honest. So the intention does play a huge role in it as well, because the way you start with it, the foundation of it is very important as well. Like pleasing, you're just doing it because you're like, oh my god, and manipulation, you're like, oh, how can I change this story in a way that I gain from it, and I'm still lying and I'm not being honest and causing confusion and all of these things, which I think is played out in a lot of Sincere's behaviors. And I think the thing that bothered me, when I tell you this bothered me, it bothered me to my core, was the lack of remorse from Sincere. Like
true remorse.
Think like there's genuinely no true remorse. And you said something earlier, which is like, manipulative people are so good with words, and Sincere is very good with
words. Especially if you're not listening.
Especially if not. And he says a bunch of nothing. Like, if you pay attention, and don't get me started with his freaking metaphors, bro. Literally, it got to a point in the episode, I was like, if I hear one more freaking metaphor from these idiots, the light is off or the light is off. Like, shut up.
What was that one again? You like cookie dough? You don't like pistachio?
Get out of here! Like, can you just keep quiet for 1 second? But I think that was the thing that bothered me the most, because clearly everybody has a lot of growing to do, including you. Like, we always have a lot of but I think the difference between Casey and Sincere was Casey was able to recognize, like, oh shit, like, I'm going to take a step back and hold myself accountable and put the blame on you and recognize that this is something to work on. He didn't sugarcoat it. He called himself out. Sincere, I never heard him really hold himself accountable in that way.
Nothing.
It was more of trying to still save the situation in a way that still benefited him.
Absolutely.
In all his conversations, whether it came to Melanie, whether it came to Soul, whether it came to Amora, like,
absolutely,
he was still saving the situation in a way that he still took something out of it. Like, for him, the loss for himself was more important than the loss of figuring it out. Like, hello?
You know what you just said, please? The loss, literally, I think that's such a big indicator in seeing the difference.
Right.
It's such a big one because it tells you that it is self-serving. It's more about you. It is self-serving, whether from a place of you don't want to lose this person, even though you have no true desire or willingness to be responsible to the access they're giving you. It tells you that you are selfish. It tells you that it is self-serving from a place as well where you don't want to look like the bad guy. And I would never forget two things that he said at the beginning that I kept thinking, like, how come nobody's talking about this? One was a conversation with Soul when she held him accountable. And he said, don't act like I'm the only bad guy. in this or something along those lines. He said something like, "Oh, you're not an angel either." Yeah, that was the word that he used. And she actually said, "Oh, so when have I? So explain how." And he had nothing to say. But I noticed that sometimes people who place more value on the perception of being the good guy are being held accountable.
Don't even get me started. This is a whole podcast
They're quick to project that back on you because it's clear that to you, like what you said, it's the loss of the idea that people see him differently. I'm not seen as this good person. I'm seen as this bad person. That it's like anything to get myself out of this perception. It did not surprise me how I noticed that he switched on her after that immediately because of how well she held him. She did not let the foot off the gas in that conversation one bit. But another thing that he said that really, I think his behaviors afterwards actually said, that thing that he said was enough for you to know that this is a red flag situation, was that his friends, and I love how he didn't say it's him that held the belief, but all his friends around him hold the belief that it is dangerous for a man to be with a woman who he likes more than she likes him.
Now, where did he say that? I missed that episode.
Earlier episodes, he was saying that to Ariana, the host, where I don't know, they were all having a conversation at the fire pit for something. And he had talked about his friends back home, conversations at his friends back home, where they have this notion that if a guy likes a girl more than the girl likes him, that is a dangerous situation for a man to be in. I know people talk about red pilled and this one and whatnot. I don't really like using, I think you have talked to you about this, that I'm very careful about labeling type of behaviors as that. Those are the ones that I would say, those types of comments and belief systems are the ones that are actually very dangerous and harmful towards women. And I remember when he said that, and I think the host even asked him and said, "But do you believe that?" I know you're saying your friends, and he was like, "Me, no." But as far as I'm concerned, he does believe that.
Yeah, he
does believe that. He believed it enough for him to even bring it up. He believes it enough for him to be around people and place value on people who say that to him. Let's just say really and truly, if it is his friends that say that. And ever since I heard him say that, I knew already that he was going to drag Melanie through the mud, because it was evident. Unfortunately, Melanie was just doing what Melanie does, which is just loving somebody openly. Was somebody who is a person who is, I guess you could say, like, she seems to have such a good heart, a very openly loving person.
Girl,
that's the kind of person that becomes a dangerous target for someone
people like that.
Because I knew already that he was going to always, at the end of the day, even if he was disrespectful, choose the woman who he believed liked him more, because he has more upper hand and control and power in the situation. And that's where manipulation stands. I'm very curious, have you encountered someone like this where what is truly manipulative behavior was always seen as like people pleasing, and even to the point where you see how the islanders are saying, "But Sincere is a really good guy, I love Sincere." That tells you how charming he is, how charismatic he is. It doesn't have to be someone you've dated, but like, do you know, are there people that you've dated or where sometimes your own experience of them feels invalidated because everybody else seems to think that they're just this great person?
I have. And that's why when you were saying the thing about people focusing on being the good person, it really is a conversation we need. I said, this is a conversation on its own, because there's so many people. And unfortunately, I feel like there's so many men out there, because I'll be experiencing this person. Because guess what? They're good people to other people. You know, they're nice, they're gentlemen. Oh, the people be like, wait, this thing you're saying, I've never experienced with him. You can't experience it with him, because those people, that's where, I also feel like that's where the manipulation comes in, where you're presenting a certain way to other people.
As a performance.
As the performance. But when you are with the person that genuinely sees you one-on-one, it's like you're being your real self. After time of playing that part, but that person starts, after a while you start clocking like, hello, like something is wrong, something is not matching. And then I think that's when conflict starts creating in the relationship, when you start trying to hold them accountable. People like that, you only get along with them enough till you hold them accountable, because to them it's like, this is an attack on my character. This is an attack on who I am. No, this is a behavior that you're telling me about that maybe I reflect on and maybe work on. They're too focused on personalizing. The behavior that you're trying to hold them accountable of, because in their heads they can do no wrong. Like I literally, the guy one time tell me like, I do all these things for women. I open the door, I buy flowers, and I'm like, but you're still a disrespectful. I want to swear so bad. You're still disrespectful to me just because you buy me flowers. And
that was such a Kamala moment.
I want to say it so bad, but you guys don't want to reply.
They can feel it.
It's like, just because you're doing all these things doesn't mean that when the time comes, you're not just disrespectful, period. And Sincere really shows the switching behavior with Soul, like you're describing, because they become so cold.
I think that was honestly speaking, I think that was the real Sincere, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, so cold.
That was the real Sincere.
And guess what? He's not going to show that side to Melanie until she consistently holds him accountable.
Absolutely.
And she will start seeing the real him. Now he's still focused on, again, there's something I'm going to lose here, so I'm going to keep trying. Once he starts to realize that, oh my God, she's really seeing the real me and I'm not ready to work on it, that's when the real switch will come on.
I think that was one of the most telling things, and obviously I wish him well and I really truly believe that he does his own work for himself. He's clearly someone that there's stuff to unpack
so much
for him. But it can be, I'm now speaking more for the people like Melanie, and I saw Melanie, who was someone that obviously was very much so, let's say, how do I say it? She reminds me of the people who love without boundaries. You know, the people who are just like, I just wear my heart on my sleeve. I just love people. I'm very openly, and that used to be me too. And I had to learn the hard way in recognizing that being someone who is just so loving without boundaries and has such a, I guess you could say, like a light and like like someone with a good heart, so to speak. You also are subjecting yourself to people you're subjecting yourself to darkness as well.
Agreed,
let's just put it that way. And a lot of darkness does not seek darkness. Sometimes darkness seeks light.
No, they always seek the opposite.
And they love to drain it out of you. Take
you could even
it out
see
of
it from
you.
my poor Melanie. Like you could see how much the light was drained from that girl. You could see it.
But you know, one thing I really, really appreciate about her was that even with the light being drained from her, she still had capacity to pour life into her friends.
I agree.
In the way that she did, that I wish her friends did the same.
And back to
for her as well. I just kept thinking like, man, Melanie needs a Melanie as a friend. It said so much about her character, but it made sense why someone like Sincere would be so attracted to that. And a lot of darkness is attracted to light, but does not mean that they care to actually work through their darkness to become a light in themselves. As long as they are taking from you and draining you. And that's why those type of people, they never let you go. Even when you're going and you're putting your boundaries and you're trying to move on with your life, they're just there lurking around the corner. Happy birthday. Happy Thanksgiving.
No, don't trigger me right now.
Happy New Year. Hope everything is fine. Shots fired.
Just checking in, likes pictures, sends email. Oh, I thought about you. No, get out, get lost. For real.
Let me ask you this too. Like, speaking of which, because that also requires accountability. Why do people oftentimes explain or justify their behaviors instead of actually taking responsibility and accountability? I saw this happen too often on this show, and I'll be honest with you. You know already, I have a very soft spot for Casey for many different reasons.
You do.
I researched him. Or I found out information about him when he had just started the show, and I saw so much that he was doing in his community with women owned businesses, Black women owned businesses, a lot of obviously the work. He's a healthcare worker like us and works with the elderly demographics. And being a straight Black man, you hardly ever see straight Black men who are very much so in tune with their community, not just from a male perspective, but more of and I saw a little bit of what he was saying about Anaya and what people were calling performative. I was like, yeah, this is someone who partners a lot with Black women-owned businesses for his running club and does all of these things. You can see how he has seen the Black woman experience and is just speaking life into her. But also, one of the things I did notice as well with him initially was he really struggled because his feelings became, that thing, the opposite way. It became all about his feelings and his frustrations. He really struggled with being able to take responsibility and accountability at first. And I get it to a degree that he felt shut down. He felt like anytime he tried to express himself, nobody cared to hear his feelings, his needs, and that kept him being defensive and reactive. And I have seen in some cases, I'll be honest with you, where there are people who, what looks like their struggle with taking accountability is just you're not creating the environment and the safety for them to be able to actually be accountable. But I noticed whenever things were calmer, whenever people were quiet, there was a lot more quietness. There was no already chipping in and shutting down comments. Accountability happens. But there's also other cases, right, where it's not like this. It's just people who are, like you said, Sincere is good with his words. They are just they're sniffing their way out of accountability. But I really want to understand, why do you think people oftentimes love to explain and justify first instead of actually just taking ownership of what they've done?
Because I think people genuinely, well, first of all, explaining feels safer. That's one. And I think people always just want to focus more on the intention rather than like, even though I had this intention, I still hurt you. So they try to like justify their intention. And I think that there's nothing wrong with wanting to justify your intention. But at the end of the day, the intention, with the intention still in mind, you still hurt somebody. So you got to take accountability for that. And I think it's hard for people because they want you to say, well, even though I hurt you, here's my intention. Well, that's not how accountability works, baby. You gotta be able to be like, listen, you can say, oh, this was not my intention and I'm still sorry I hurt you.
Yeah.
People want to be like, this was not my intention, I'm standing on it, and this is what I'm going to explain, and I'm going to break it down, and I'm going to, like, and I think that's the difference between Casey and Corbin in taking accountability. Like, something I would always respect Casey for was, even the boys tried to influence him, like, oh, Anaya was overdoing it, and like, Corbin especially. Corbin is like the little devil on his left shoulder, always trying to chit.
Corbin. Oh my God. GBT.
And Casey, Corbin GBT. Casey was always like, nah, I hurt her feelings. Nah, I did this. And I would always respect him for that because in those moments, you know how, no offense to men and women, I think we like to coddle our friends' behaviors and we like to show them like, oh, I'm hurt.
You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, no, like you didn't do anything wrong. And you'd be like, I didn't. You know, we like to sometimes not really hold our friends accountable. And try to make them feel better that way instead of helping them grow and recognize like, hey, like this doesn't mean you're a horrible person. It just means that you could have done it differently next time. Corbin was not giving Casey that, but I love that Casey always was like, nah, like, it's okay for her to feel that way. And you can see every time he shut it down, Corbin was like, I see what you mean. So I think with the explanation, I think it's just the safer thing to do. And I think people always just want to give context because they feel like context minimizes the behavior. But it doesn't. It really doesn't. Like, thank you for giving the context, but I was still hurt. And I think a lot of people also think that giving context is accountability. That's not accountability. Real accountability, you don't have excuses. Whether your intention was this or that, real accountability just hold yourself like, you're right. I can see that hurt you. I don't even like that I made you feel that way. I'm going to try and work on that differently. Like, I'm so sorry I upset you in that way. And I think that's what Casey did, where he was able to even name the behavior, like
that part.
I was resentful. I recognized acting from a place of resentment, and I was acting from a place of always catering to your feelings at the expense of mine. And instead, that made me this very angry, annoyed, frustrated person. And I could recognize that that's why everything played out the way it did. Beautiful.
Even to the point of recognizing that it wasn't truly towards you as much as it was towards myself.
Exactly.
Like, you're making, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, you're making such a good distinction here. I don't know if you hear it. What you're kind of saying is that accountability does not equate to justifying or explaining away behavior, especially explaining away behavior as a way to minimize responsibility.
Yeah.
But accountability, let's just say context is important in accountability if it is coming from a place of true self-reflection in a way that even provides more insights and like a robust accountability conversation where it allows the other person to leave feeling heard and understood. That's such a big distinction, because one could say he was explaining or justifying, but the difference between the explaining and justifying and saying, no, I'm a people pleaser, I grew up in a household where I had to think about every other person's feelings and that's why I'm acting the way that I'm acting, versus recognizing that, oh, I was holding resentment towards you and it came out in a disrespectful way, but that resentment was towards myself, and I see how that would hurt you. That's more from self-reflection. So accountability has self-reflection. It doesn't have justification or explaining behaviors. That's such a great distinction that you made there, because it really allows people to actually see what it is.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. And in speaking of taking accountability, and I know we're talking about friendships and how I also think friendships play such an important role. If you're not in a space of doing your own work, if you're not in a space of your own self-confidence, high self-esteem, and self-worth, you're so easily influenced by friends. How taking accountability can be hard with all of those in your head, because I genuinely love the fact that we get to experience something called friendship, because it's a beautiful thing to have, especially when it's such a beautiful thing to have. However, I do think that friends can limit your growth 100%. So in looking at the dynamics of the friendships on the island, when does advice from friends become helpful versus harmful? Like, how do you know that your friends are protecting you versus projecting their own experiences on you? It's a very important question, because we see the friendship dynamic play in love. There's so many times I was screaming on my, shouting on my screen, like, which kind of advice be this, for God's sake? How would you advise your friend this?
Some dangerous advice. Sweet baby Anaya, love you, girl.
I'm so glad her mom clocked her.
I really appreciated her mom, like bringing that to her attention. I do think she still needed to reflect a little bit more, and not just necessarily repeat it because her mom said that, and I think that's like her own personal work and whatnot to kind of like take inner like introspection. That's that introspection of like, okay, how am I showing up for my friends versus how would they like for me to show up, and what's the best way to show up? And I also just shout out you and I's friendship, as I'm even thinking about that. And I think about like my friendships as well. And one thing for sure is I don't want no friends who are going to be enabling my behavior one bit.
I
want to be able to go to my friends and be honest about what I'm experiencing. And there's a difference between being critical, heavily critical. And I see sometimes with clients of mine who are afraid to go to their friends because they're not enabling their behavior, but they are judging their behavior. They're being critical of their behavior, and they're shaming them for their behavior. It's not safe. It's not that. We're talking about being able to lovingly receive what your friend is saying, provide them support, but also be truthful to them as well. I love that. Like, even when you and I have conversations, because we have, I think more of our own healthy debates are around like reality TV shows and whatnot, we don't always share the same perspective. You know, that's the interesting thing. Yeah. We actually don't always share the same perspective, but we always have and when we have different perspectives, we have differing perspectives that both have, both hold value, both hold weight, and it allows you to kind of go, I see the perspective I hold, but I see the perspective that Aisha is also having here. And I think in having those type of healthy debates and conversations in friendships where you are already practicing a little bit of space of being able to hold differences in views, it can be a very easy thing when we're applying it to our own personal life. And I'm coming with you with something, or you're coming with me with something. I'm like, girl, I get it. We are human beings. I love you, but also make sure that you are being reasonable, or make sure that you are putting yourself first. Make sure that you're not necessarily just listening to what this person is saying, but you're also looking at their actions. Or you might flip it around and be like, Paula, relax. Like, relax. Make sure you're not rushing. Make sure you're not this. Make sure you're not that. I think that there's something so beautiful about that in female friendships, especially because I know society, and I'll be lying if I said it's not true. I know society, a lot of people do feel like sometimes in friendships between women, there's a lot of like, yes, man, just saying what the other person wants to hear versus actually lovingly helping your friend become a healthier and better version of themselves. And I appreciate some of these. I know it sounds like just trivial conversations that we have around reality TV, but I really, like, as we debate and like we talk and we're sharing, I'm like thinking about it, I'm digesting, I'm reflecting. It also helps me in my own personal life. Bringing it to the Islanders, I was quite disappointed that I didn't really see a lot of that amongst the friendships. Honestly speaking, as crazy as it sounds, I did not appreciate the level of accountability Corbin had, because his accountability was very surface level. Going back to what you're saying, but honestly, it surprised me that he held Sincere accountable.
He did.
And I really appreciated him being able to express disappointment in how his friend was moving. Now, the only challenge there was, it seemed more about his friendship with him versus how Sincere is moving with everybody, including including the women that he's in a relationship with. But I will give credit where credit is due. Here, right? Where I think that was holding your friend accountable. That was going, you don't lie. His behavior is
unacceptable. Yeah,
it's unacceptable to the point where I have to also question you. And even Sincere's dad saying, I would not even have friends like that around me, let alone somebody that you're dating.
You know what? Shout out Sincere's dad.
That was such a powerful thing.
50,000 miles to come tell you this is not how we act. Like, hello.
I don't even rock with people who act like that.
Yeah, he said, hello, talk less of my son. Like, stand up. Yeah.
No, but I really appreciated that, because I do think that Melanie truly needed a friend. And I'm not saying that those people were not friends to her. They were friends in the way in which they had capacity to, but this is why I think it's important to, as human beings, you know this about me, I value my friendships, I value my relationships. So I'm somebody who constantly is thinking, how can I be a better friend, or be the friend that this person needs to me? And it's not just about thinking about it, but also asking the other person as well, like, what do you need from me? What kind of support do you need from me? And not just going Team Sincere. You want me to not be Team Sincere? I'm going to be Team Sincere. And I do think it was difficult for Anaya, because you could tell that she clearly had a connection with her friendship with Sincere. And sometimes toggling between that, but recognizing that part of what it means to also be friends with Sincere is being honest and truly holding him accountable, but that clouding a lot of how she was able to support Melanie. And you saw Melanie really talking sense into her and showing up as a real friend. So I do think on the friendship standpoint, I know they're young, they'll grow, they'll learn and whatnot. There's still a lot of room for growth and maturity, even between Trinity and Kida as well. I do love their friendship. I do think like there's a connection there. There's a sisterhood in their friendship connection that I see that is very beautiful. There's also the aspect where they need to learn each other and recognize like there's sense. It's okay for you to recognize you have a friend here who has sensitivity around these things, and taking a harsher tone in how you share with her can actually minimize her own experience and make her feel like she's not safe enough to come and meet you. So I appreciate that Keda was able to express herself about that whole situationship exclusive thing. He's saying this is how it made me feel, and then Trinity got it, but I also think she needed more of like a gentler approach with her and recognizing that like two things can be true. This is your own understanding of something.
Right.
You're rooting for her, so let her see the friend in you that is rooting for her, whilst you're also saying, I am rooting for you, I am supporting you. I also want you to make sure that you're doing what's best for you. And you're not neglecting your feelings versus sort of like that harsher tone. So I do think there's room for growth, but I was honestly, I can't lie and say that I was not like a little bit disappointed in how it showed
the friendships.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. The fact that Corbin was the best friend, I was like, wait a damn minute. What is happening? I also feel like for Love Island, and I don't know if the producers, hopefully y'all listen to this episode. Go listen to our podcast, guys.
Yes.
I don't know.
Message for the producers.
This is
disclaimer.
why I love Love Island UK, like versus US, in the sense where Love Island US feels more like Friendship Island, because I feel like part of the issue of not holding their friends accountable or telling them the truth is that selfishness of wanting them to stay, which I honestly get. Like, these are your friends, like you grow up, you love them and everything, but I love that UK, regardless of that, it's still that like the purpose of the show is there. It's not Friendship Island. So I know that part of the issue sometimes is for the show especially is just knowing that, oh, these are the people, like at the end of the day, even if I don't live here with love, I live here with friends. True. But that's not what we're here for. And part of being here is being authentic. Like, how would you show up to your friends in the real world? Because if you're telling them something just for them to stay, then you're not being a real friend. You're not being an authentic friend. You're not being a friend that genuinely cares for them and their well-being. You're being a selfish friend. And like, nobody wants that. We don't want that.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. There's an episode in this. I keep telling you to watch last year's Love Island UK. If you ever get the time, do it on your own. It's such a good.
My issue with Love Island UK is like 5,000 episodes. Like,
as I said, you don't have to, just take your time. Like, I've been watching it with my sister. I've been watching it with my sister for like 6-7 months now. At this point, we take our time with it. But there was an episode where one of the girls is choosing poorly for herself, and she's choosing the guy who actively keeps hurting her. Funny, that guy reminds me of Sincere, who actively keeps hurting her. And like, she goes down the staircase and she's sitting at the staircase, she's sitting on the floor, and then two of her friends, there's like 3 particular girls that just have a very healthy friendship, and the 2 girls come, they sit with her, like they're supporting her as she's feeling her emotions. So that support there. And then they're like, but you know that you're not choosing right. And if I know you, I know that you're someone, as one of them was saying, I know that you know what is right and what is wrong, what is healthy and what is unhealthy. No, it's a different one. Tony, Shakira season, and they're sort of just saying, you know what is healthy, and she's like, yeah, I do. So what is happening right now is you are actively choosing wrong. And my sister and I were so blown away. We're like, wow, this is, until today they're friends. It's not surprising. Until today, it reminds me of like the season 6 Serena, Leah ones as well. They were very honest with each other, but from a place of like love. They were holding each other, they were affectionate, they were loving, they were not disrespectful, but able to say, I know you and your character, and I know what you want, but you are actively choosing wrong. And I love that they were also receptive as well. So just making that distinction, that I do see that quite often in the UK dynamics, where they're not afraid to hold each other's feet to the fire. But as we're, I guess, like slowly rounding up this conversation and this season, I'm so curious to see what the reunion
looks like. I'm sad. I'm actually excited
the reunion looks like. Even though, to be fair, I would still like for us to answer this question, because I think it would be cool to also just give our own, I guess, analysis of the coupling, because we've not really talked about which couples do we think actually do have what it takes to really work through. Not even last is, I think last is relative. Sincere and Melanie can last.
No, they can. That's true. It's all right. You're absolutely so right.
I saw so many people going, I've been a Melanie and I've had a Sincere and we were together for 5 years. There were people going, we were together for 6 years. And I was like, so lasting is also not a flex.
Yeah, you're right. You're
But
right.
beyond chemistry and attraction, like we already talked about this, like what qualities create a lasting relationship. Like which
Yeah.
couples would you say, looking at this season, to some degree demonstrated the qualities that are needed to create a healthy, lasting relationship, and which couples would you say it was built on shaky, rocky foundations?
So, funny enough, people may not agree with this, but I feel like Corbin and Permita.
Yeah, I actually do.
Together. Because there's just a level of consistency where you can tell that they understand each other. We see each other. We understand each other.
Yep.
I do feel like something they may struggle with in the relationship is trust, just because of it's like something that they definitely value is physicality and like how they look and all that. And both of them, I'm sure, have a lot of people that are gonna come forward and try to pursue them.
Yeah.
But they're not exclusive, they're not in a relationship. And even if they were, what has held anybody back in the past? So I do feel like they can last because they have similar mindsets.
Absolutely.
And
he said lifestyle.
It. Yeah, he did say, like, they just merged. They just meshed.
Yeah.
They have shared values.
And apparently she's even moving to Miami. Like, she already had, like, the Miami
move. Really?
That was another thing that I guess connected them, was she had already put the Miami move in motion before all of this. So I think she even said, like, in a week's time, like, it's already been planned for her to move to where he's at.
Okay. Yeah, I can see them work because you could just tell that they're on a similar wavelength. Obviously, life throws things at you.
Yeah.
I don't think they really got in the villa that they probably have to work through.
Yeah.
My winners, Trinity. Bryce and Trinity, I do feel like I have hope for their connection because you could just tell that there's a level of emotional safety, which is something that I think Bryce laid as a foundation from the beginning. Absolutely. What a guy.
What a guy.
Give to me if you don't.
But when I saw his mom and his grandmom, I was like, makes sense.
I was like, yeah, this is a man that was raised well. Like, come on. Like, for him, there are times where you could tell her ideas of like relationship and the image that she brought in terms of expectations of the island wasn't matching, and every other person was kind of matching that, and she was getting scared and anxious, and he was literally like, no, like, this is a steady pace. We need to build friendship. We need to build trust. We need to build safety, which is something that we're both doing. And if it doesn't work out, but for right now, like, I don't see the reason for us to panic. And I actually love that because their relationship did not start lustful. I think they both were attracted to each other, but they genuinely got to know each other as like, do I even like this person as a person before?
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, like, being in the current relationship that I am, I definitely feel like that has been something that I think about quite often, because at least, and I say speaking from both of us, because he already was someone who does not lead with like physical attraction in how he dates. Now, for me, I'll be honest with you, I have a past of leading with physical attraction with how I date. And in the past, I would just be, oh my God, there's so much chemistry. And it was really just about like the physical, romantic chemistry. And I think because my priorities really did shift, and I did a lot of deep introspective work between me and God, and I really dug deep to understand who I am and the kind of spirit and soul that I would attract and I should be attracted to. So it became less of the person, what they look like, and like what are the characteristics of the soul that, like, whose souls would I be attracted to? And I noticed once that shift happened for me internally and spiritually as well, when I did meet him and we were talking and getting to know each other, it was very much on like a deep soul level of understanding character, conversations, talking, really getting to know the essence of this person and who they are. And it's interesting how, for me, that was such a big, I guess, light bulb moment where what I had always placed value on, in not even directly knowing I was doing that. And you think that, those things are so important because that's where attraction is. The attraction that came from that connection was very powerful, a lot more powerful than like romantic, sexual, physical, all of these other types of attraction that we place value on, because it was deep. It was on that soul level. And I think I see that connection between Trinity and Bryce a little bit, where they, unfortunately, whether it was produced, whatnot, but it worked in their favor in the sense where they were able to lay that foundation. And I do think that Bryce needs a Trinity needs a Bryce in her life, and that's kind of why it works well. There's so much she gains and draws from him as a person, but there's so much he gains and draws from her as well in such a beautiful way. I noticed that they're probably one of the only couples that when I watch them, I'm like kicking my feet.
I know, I love them so much. They were my winners from day one. I was like,
when I watch their connection, I'm kicking their feet. And of course, like you said, so many curveballs come, and even if their relationship doesn't work out, does not mean their connection was not true.
I agree.
Or their connection was not a good connection. Logistics, life, timing, location, all of these things matter.
Yeah.
And I guess speaking of which, the ones with shaky foundations, we've talked about Sincere and Melanie. That's a really shaky foundation. I don't think we need to say more.
Good luck to all involved.
I don't think we need to say more about that. Honestly speaking, I think Zach and Kada they remind me of a relationship dynamic that I don't see much to say that it is a strong foundation, if I'm being honest. I don't see much of that. It doesn't mean that I don't see them lasting. And that's what I was saying about lasting sometimes does not mean anything, because they seem to really like each other. But I also see them as, if there's not much intentionality in building a strong foundation and truly being themselves with each other. Because I see a lot of truly being themselves with Corbin and Pamida, like you said. I see a lot of Trinity and Bryce truly being themselves with each other. I haven't fully seen, and I'm even more so speaking about Zach, maybe hasn't really gotten to a place of true comfortability within himself to show his true authentic self in a way where they're able to build that strong foundation. So I would say for them, that's a tricky one. Kyle and Anaya, I can also say that they're too early. There's not so much that we're able to kind of see and watch to say that there's a strong foundation or not. I do think they have good chemistry. They have a good connection. They seem to fit well into each other's lives in terms of like background, lifestyle, but also those things are important, but they're not everything as well to make a strong, healthy, lasting relationship.
I agree.
How about you? What do you think about them, these two?
I agree with both. I think Zach is highly insecure and he's not ready to I think he projects the insecurity on Kada. So I do see that as something that I do think they have cause problems, but I do see that when you think about a lot of the issues that they had, it was more like projected from a place from his insecurity projecting on, and then when she reacts, she becomes the problem. Like, we've seen this, we know this, the template
dynamic.
From the template, like I do feel like she really likes him, so I think she's gonna keep
making it work
to make it work. But I can see her getting to a point where she's like fed up. Naya and Carl, I think that was very much spot on. There's chemistry there, and I really hope it works out for her. The only thing is, I do feel like Carl, you could tell, like, has a strong sense of self and is very like stable in himself, and he still has. Everybody has work to do, so I'm sure there's stuff that he needs to work on. Whether it was televised or not, but I definitely like Anaya needs a lot of work. Love that girl to death. Very beautiful girl.
So beautiful.
But I just feel like there's so much that she needs to do in herself personally to really be in a healthy partnership with somebody. Because if not, it's gonna keep showing up, or that person has
no matter the dynamic.
Or that person has to keep catering to her insecurities, and it will become exhausting at some point. So.
I think she's just yet to meet herself. It's kind of how I've seen it with her. I think she's just yet, and she's young, so I always say time in this case can help, that she's yet to meet herself at like the place of like true depth. True understanding, getting that exposure in that way. And I do think Love Island was such a like an uncomfortable environment that forced her to grow. And it's hoping that helps her as well, because like you said, she does have very much to like the characteristic potentials, because she already seems like a really lovely person in
She's
general.
So sweet,
and seems like a very like someone with a very what's it called, like a pure like an like an innocence, naivety to her, but in a way where she just needs to kind of, and I love when Meg Thee Stallion was telling her like, stand in your stallionness, girl, like what do you like, and again it was just kind of that way of saying like
be the body that you are,
like, be the body that we all know that you are, so to speak. But I agree with that. And I guess last but not the least, I think that, and this one I will tell you, I'll be like, I am biased
no,
here.
I feel like they're gonna work.
I'm biased here because my man's is an Aries and I'm an Aquarius, and we're very compatible signs. I didn't even know this till like, I think it was afterwards when I'm like, oh my God, why am I so compatible with this person? And my sister loves zodiac signs, so I was like, you know what, let me even check. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that Aries and Aquariuses were quite compatible. But there was something that he had said with their connection, which I felt was very similar to mine, where you meet the person and it almost is like, oh, we've known each other, like we've kind of known, like there was a little bit of, there was no awkwardness in getting to know each other. They almost seemed like friends when they had first met initially, with a lot of chemistry, to be fair. But the more I think I see their connection, I think at first I was like, okay, let's see where this is going. It's more of just that physical chemistry between the two of them, but they just seem so well suited. I can't really explain it. That's the interesting thing.
I definitely think they could work. He definitely brings out, I don't know if it was you I was telling or somebody else, but I think TT has grown up to always be defensive all her life, and you can see how like the connection brings out. It's so sweet to see, like, even though have contradictions on how she came into the villa, but I think it's so sweet to see that when you're with somebody that genuinely you see each other, it's the side to you that comes out is very much different from the side that you have to like survive for so long. And I genuinely, that's why I think that they would work out, because you can just see that there's something about their connection where they both don't have to be tough. Like they could just be themselves and connect in that way. So I do think that they can last. Sure.
That's such a good way to put that. That's so true. I do see the potential, besides like a lot of their background working in their favor and being able to understand each other in a way where you have to explain that. There's something I like what you just said, how sometimes the wrong relationships can really bring out the worst parts of you. And you saw that with Anaya and him, where with her own insecurities coming out, his own sort of like disrespectful sides coming out, and how like the right relationship, or at least the more aligned relationship, can bring out a softness in you and like a loving, caring side. And I truly, especially with what you're saying, right, I kind of felt bad for how her introduction, like the sort of she coming into the villa, and she gave more context after Son in saying that she had a lot of anxiety. She felt the tension as she walked in, because Casey was the person everybody came at. So she was really struggling. And she talked about the mental impact that first night had on her. And it made so much sense how the defensiveness and the need to like fight for yourself came out, like you said. But I really loved watching her vulnerability. There was something just so real
girl.
About that, as like women like you and I who are very strong externally, and oftentimes the perception for people like you and I who are very strong externally, who are independent, who are doing their own thing, is that nobody ever sees that like we also have feelings, and
like we're human beings. I
really appreciated
I actually
that.
really like TT as I kept watching the show, because I was just like, this is somebody that's just had to survive all her life, and you just could and you would never put her in a position where she has to be, she would present as like vulnerable in front of people that she doesn't know. And immediately I was like, oh, that's what's happening. Like, this girl is a sweetheart, and I hope that both of them could work through therapy and like just through getting to know each other.
Yeah, they seem to bring out good things in each other, which is good.
Yeah,
love to see it.
I like right.
Shout out people. Season 8.
Yes.
Y'all did your big ones with that. I know people can be so critical, but at least this is us saying that y'all did your big ones with that. Like
and
they really put themselves there.
Can I just say that? Please remember that these people are putting themselves on the line for our entertainment, but at the end of the day, humans, because there's literally no reason for you to watch a show to the point of personalizing it and then wishing them death. Like, that is not okay.
Yeah, I don't like that.
It's not okay. You're allowed to not like a character. You're allowed to not like something this person did, but to the point of like hating them and like writing hate comments. Like, please just remember that they're human beings at the end of the day, and they are so brave putting themselves out there for us to have opinions on them. Like, please just remember that you don't know how you're going to present until you're in that position. So please just
be true.
Like, we need to just be kinder. It's so hard seeing the aftermath of the show. Like, me and you, we talk about these things and I'm like, oh, I don't agree with this, or I don't like this person, whatever. But it ends there. And then sometimes you tell me something and I'm like, oh, it's not like I don't like this behavior, but I can see where this person can grow and just move on. But some of the personalization of it to the point of going under their comments and then wishing that
I'm ready to bully them is wild.
Yeah, that is crazy. Please, that's not okay. Let's just
keyword. It ends there. Like what you said.
Leave it where it's at. It's really just a show, please.
But it just shows you how deeply troubled a lot of human beings are as well. And it's easy to project things on people who are actually being brave by showing up on these platforms.
Yeah, it's not easy.
To be flawed and to not be perfect. And who are we to ever make such strong statements and projections on people when us in our own private lives with no cameras, with no nothing, are there flawed and imperfect, making decisions that we think nobody else is ever going to see. It makes no sense. I appreciate you bringing that up. So true. I like that we waited till season 8 because I think I would have probably been more stressed if we were recapping season 7.
I would have been like,
well, it was a good season.
Yes.
So it was a lovely conversation. I will be looking forward to the reunion. So of course, to keep this conversation going, we want our listeners to follow us. We want you to subscribe. We want you to leave your comments, engage with us. We want to hear from you, please, and how to connect with us and continue this conversation. You can find us on Instagram or X at DWHYA. You can find us on TikTok at DWHYA1. You can find us on all streaming platforms. You can find the video to this episode as well on YouTube. And you can find us if you want to email us at info@DWHYApodcast.com. And if you want to also keep up with your hosts, you can find me at paula.b.martins on any platform. And Aisha, how can they find you as well?
You can find me at ab.popola on Instagram and TikTok. Yeah.
Awesome. And with that being said, until next time,
thank you
stay
for
blessed,
listening.
keep safe. Bye.
Bye.
Do We Have Your Attention podcast is executively produced by Paula B. Martins and Aisha Popola, with co-production by Kyra Dosumu Ogundigbe.